Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating: the hidden psychological patterns that can actually turn high intelligence into a massive financial barrier. We almost always assume being smart is the ultimate advantage in life. But what if your brain's own complexity is actually building walls of scarcity? Well, let's figure it out. Okay, here is our diagnostic breakdown for today. We'll be looking at 1, the high IQ wealth glitch; 2, the overthinking trap; 3, confusing thought and progress; 4, the humility barrier; 5, independence and identity; and finally 6, rewriting your wealth script. Let's get right into it.
Have you ever thought about why this straight A student from your high school, the one literally everyone thought would go on to change the world, is now burnt out working a stressful 9 to 5? Meanwhile, the kid who spent all of math class just drawing rocket ships in his notebook is out there building a massive business empire. It honestly feels like a glitch in the universe, doesn't it? Seeing genuinely brilliant people scraping by to pay rent, while others just seem to effortlessly build wealth.
So we have to ask ourselves, why do smart people struggle to get rich? To figure this out, we have to look way past the bank accounts. We need to examine the cognitive architecture that most people completely ignore. Because psychology tells us that this struggle, it often has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of talent or a lack of opportunity. Section 1, the high IQ wealth glitch, a fascinating paradox. Let's start with a concept called cognitive reflection. Now, while a lot of people will just blindly act on their very first instinct, highly intelligent individuals have this really unique ability to question their initial thoughts and look much, much deeper into a problem. And look, that is fantastic for complex problem solving, but it actually has a surprisingly dark side when you apply it to money. Section 2, the overthinking trap, the danger of productive overthinking. If you're highly intelligent, chances are you analyze every possible outcome until you literally reach total mental exhaustion. And here's the thing you need to hear. You aren't lazy. You really aren't. You're just trapped in a loop. You are essentially playing 4D chess against yourself, trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't even exist yet. You end up entirely draining your battery searching for a perfect plan in a world that is inherently imperfect. Section 3, confusing thought and progress. How to spot the dopamine trap. This brings us to a massive pitfall. Because smart people have such incredibly vivid, active minds, they can picture their goals with crystal clarity. They can see the wealth as if it's already sitting right there in front of them. But when this happens, your brain releases a huge dopamine hit just from the imagination phase alone. It gives you a 90% satisfaction rate without you ever having to lift a finger. And that completely kills the internal urgency to do the boring 10% of actual grinding work. What happens is you end up kind of addicted to the potential of who you could be. The idea of success feels so much better and, let's be honest, a whole lot safer than actually facing the real possibility of failure. So you just stay attached to the potential of being a high achiever simply because the slow, repetitive, day-to-day effort of reality is just deeply uncomfortable. Section 4, the humility barrier, the cost of intellectual humility. Studies actually show that highly intelligent people doubt themselves way more than those with lower ability. You're hyper-aware of what you don't know, which constantly keeps you in a state of learning and preparation. Meanwhile, and this is thanks to the Dunning-Kruger effect, people with far less ability completely overestimate themselves. They blindly leap into opportunities with total confidence, absolutely convinced they're going to fly. So while the brilliant person is still sitting in the library, endlessly researching the market and waiting to finally feel ready, the average person has already launched their business and made their first lucrative mistakes. Your self-awareness keeps you safe, sure, but it also keeps you small. You are waiting for this magical feeling of readiness that psychology proves only ever comes after taking action, not before it. Section 5, independence and identity, uncovering the childhood roots. Now we have to look back a bit. Some children didn't lose their childhood suddenly, they just quietly outgrew it, because they realized someone had to be the responsible one. This develops into what's called survival independence. They learned super early on that support wasn't guaranteed, so they just stopped asking for help altogether. As an adult, this creates a truly devastating financial habit, where your nervous system literally refuses to collaborate or delegate. Because depending on anyone else feels fundamentally unsafe and unreliable to you, you try to build an entire empire on your own shoulders. But the truth? Nobody reaches true wealth without a team. You are exhausted not because you are failing. You are exhausted because you are trying to carry a massive boulder that was always meant to be lifted by a group. And all of this leads to identity misalignment. Your brain is a survival tool, right? It's literally designed to resist any action that doesn't match how you see yourself. So if your conscious goals clash with an old survival script, like subconsciously believing safety exists in being virtuous and poor rather than ambitious and rich, your brain will sabotage your financial success. You might suddenly overspend, or you might talk yourself out of going for a big promotion. Because in psychology, the deeply ingrained identity almost always wins the tug of war. On top of all this, smart people are generally highly observant of digital manipulation. So, to protect their precious cognitive bandwidth, they often hide away from the noise of social media, which, hey, is great for mental health. But it creates a massive barrier. It keeps your private genius totally isolated from public success, especially in a modern world where attention is literally a primary currency.
Section 6. Rewriting your wealth script. The cure for stagnation.
Okay, if you're recognizing these patterns in yourself right now, don't panic. It just means your high IQ engine currently has brakes made of fear. To release them, you have to consciously spot these hidden survival scripts. You need to align your massive intelligence with rapid action instead of endless analysis. You have to embrace the courage to be messy and imperfect. And finally, you must allow yourself to grow alongside a team rather than carrying the whole world alone.
There is this incredible quote from our source material that I want to share. Healing doesn't mean becoming less smart. It means learning that you are finally allowed to act without knowing every answer. That just beautifully summarizes that your true value isn't tied to your isolation, and it isn't tied to your flawless planning. It's tied to your willingness to just take imperfect steps forward.
I want to leave you with a final thought to really chew on regarding your own cognitive architecture, because the exact moment you actually see your hidden scripts is the moment you gain the power to rewrite them. So ask yourself, right now, today, are you aligning your intelligence with analysis or with action? It's time to turn that brilliant potential into reality. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.